Bonjour, bonjour. Sorry for being a couple of minutes late. I was a little bit stuck, as in I was just brushing my teeth and I spilled some toothbrush on my shirt, so I had to change. Sorry about that. I see we already have 6 people watching, which is amazing. We have Connie, who says she's here already, trying to be the favorite. Well, you got competition, I guess, because Linda's here too. So sweet to see the two of you. If you're watching right now, please say hi in the comment. Tell me where you're signing in from, especially if I haven't seen you before. And today we have an amazing topic. I have called it Immersion Secrets. It's a topic that has been requested in the past by the attendees here. And so we are going to speak about the daily French bath. And yes, I did say daily French bath in the first minute of this video. And I will say it's a lot, I believe, because this is the topic of today. If you have been watching my videos or you've been here on those lives before, you probably have heard of the daily French bath, which is the name that we give to the daily immersion practice that I recommend so that you learn French as fast as possible and you become fluent as easily as you possibly can. So that is what we're going to speak about today. So we have Doge. I hope I pronounced that right, from the Netherlands. So cool. We have Barry from Kingston, Canada. Amazing. Cool. Sweet, sweet. I'm so glad you're here. So just to recap the kind of things that we're going to view today, if you haven't received my email or if you haven't followed me on Telegram, please follow me on Telegram. There's going to be something important that we will speak about today. But for now, the 4 things that I'm going to speak about is first, why immersion is so important and why it's actually critical to becoming fluent. I honestly do not think that you can become fluent without an immersion practice. I cannot imagine a way to do it. And I'm a French learning coach. I'm a language learning expert. Actually, I have a master's degree in language learning. I have been teaching for, I believe, 17 years now. I kind of know what I'm talking about. And yeah, I have imagined many ways and many techniques that it actually works, but I cannot imagine any that would not include an immersion practice. That's absolutely critical, and I will explain why. And then there is still one situation which you don't want to practice immersion. If you're with me on Telegram, you might have heard that this is my situation with German right now. I willfully chose not to practice immersion for German, and I have very good reasons for that. And then how to do it with no effort, because after I say it's so critical, you can't become fluent if you don't. Maybe you're like, oh my god, I'm gonna have to do like all of these immersion stuff. It's not supposed to take you a lot of time, or at least not a lot of extra time. We'll see that it's something you can do in the background, and it's not supposed to be hard. In fact, the one reason why immersion fails, I've seen among my students, the one reason why my students just fail to do their immersion practice and fail to make some progress is because they make it too hard for themselves. So we will look into how to make it really, really easy. And no, you do not have to move to a French-speaking country. If you're in a French-speaking country, it will be easier, slightly, but you can do just fine no matter where you live. You don't have to leave your home or your car or wherever you normally are. And you don't need to change a lot, to be honest, to your existing lifestyle to become able to immerse yourself and have a successful immersion practice and learn French successfully until you go fluent. And finally, I will share 5 easy strategies to find the best French material for your immersion, because it's all about what do you use for the immersion. Like basically anything could be used, but you want to still be a bit mindful so that it's easy for you and that you basically stick to it. So I will share how I do it, how I recommend my students to do it in my coaching programs. And yep, that's basically the program for today. I think it's quite a lot already. We have Steve here from Maryland. Cool, good to see you again, Steve. Yeah, so first, please tell me a bit, do you have an immersion practice? Do you do the daily French bath already? And what do you use and how do you do it? I think it would be a good starting point to just know where you're at, and then I can elaborate on what you are already giving. And while you are typing, because there's a little bit of latency, I will start explaining why it's so critical to have an immersion practice. But please tell me what you are already doing. And if you aren't doing anything, please tell me that you aren't doing anything, because that will be interesting too, right? Like I want you to leave today with the possibility to start your immersion practice if you don't have one yet. And if you already have one, I want you to be able to enhance it. So that's super important. Barry says he uses French in action. I actually do not know this one, so I will look it up. I mean, I obviously don't know all of the resources to learn French. Like, it's impossible. There are so many. But I will look that up. French in action. That sounds good. Yeah, so please type in what you're using and how you use it and when and how, like basically what you're doing right now, so we can just all share and pull it together. And so the first thing that I want to speak about is why the immersion is super critical. Doge says playing the French translation of The Witcher 3. Oh, sweet. Yeah, so playing a video game is a great immersion practice. So you can just switch your video game to French, and you can just play it in French. You can also switch your devices to French, for example, your iPhone or your smartphone, something like that. Connie is saying, what I'm now doing is watching YouTube music video and reading, singing along with French lyrics. Great, amazing idea. I know more French words and automatically translate some of the titles without thought. Cool, this is amazing. The next step would be getting to the point where you actually don't translate, but I think that will be a topic for another video. It's amazing that you can just know what it means, and even if the words in English pop in your head, as long as it's no effort, it's pretty good. The whole point of the immersion practice is to have no effort involved. Barry, also, I will teach you a language by Ollie Richard. So is Ollie Richard, I will teach you a language entirely in French? I mean, I haven't listened to that in a long time. I actually don't remember. If it's entirely in French, then yes, I would consider that to be part of the immersion practice. If it's not entirely in French, I would consider that to be more part of your active studying, which is also something that you can do, and I recommend you do because it will help you learn faster, but it would not be the topic of this video. Basically, it will be another topic. Linda's saying, I watch some French TV and movie, listen to French pop radio from Canada. Great. Listen to some French podcasts, like One Thing in a French Day, and learn French conversation. Right, so learning French conversation would not be part of the immersion practice, but all the rest would be. And also some French YouTube channel on cooking or knitting. Amazing. This is what we're looking for. All right, perfect. I'm so glad most of you have already an immersion practice, and we'll see how we can enhance that. But first, why is it so important? So basically, what you need to understand is that the way that the human brain learns a language before applying any technique onto it is because the language is around. So you cannot learn a language that you are not exposed to. I know that sounds silly when I say it, but I do still see a lot of people who say, I want to learn French, but they're never exposed to any French language. And it doesn't work this way. Like, take a child and expose the child to a language. The child will learn the language that they're exposed to. If you expose the child to 2 or 3 or 4 languages, they will learn those 2 or 3 or 4 languages. But they will not learn the languages that they're not exposed to. And it's obvious. It should be obvious to an adult, right? Like, when I was a kid, I actually had a funny story about that. Like, when I was 4, my uncle and my aunt adopted my cousin Thomas Thomas in French, from Colombia. And so in Colombia, they speak Spanish, right? And I actually asked my mom, like, when Thomas starts to speak, he was adopted very small, he was tiny. Like, on the 3rd day of his life, I think he was adopted, so really, really small. And I asked my mom, I was 4 years old, when Thomas starts to speak, is he going to speak Spanish? Because I was kind of afraid that there would be a child in my family that I would not be able to communicate with. And it sounded logical to me, like, he's from Colombia, he speaks Spanish, right? And my mother was like, no, he's just gonna speak French like the rest of us. And I was like, how does that happen? Like, as a kid, I seemed to believe that the languages were built in, and that you had your language and that was it, and it was just kind of inherent to you. But it's not. You learn the language that surrounds you, and you learn it as a child, but you also can learn it as an adult. And as soon as you're surrounded by your language, unless you block it, if you have some sort of psychological block, that's possible to just not learn at all a language that you're surrounded by. But if you don't, and most people don't or have only like a low level of it. It's also something actually that we can speak about in one of those lives. Please tell me if that's something you're interested in hearing about, like psychological blocks, energy blocks, these kind of things. It's something that I've already explored, and I've also given a workshop about that in the French Fluency Accelerator. So if you want, I can actually share about that in a future one. But that's a different topic. Just tell me if you'd like to have it next. But if you do not have a psychological block, or you have only very small psychological blocks, you will learn the language that surrounds you. But you need to put the language around you. That's super important. The immersion is the step 3 of the 4-step process. So if you've watched my video, for example, the one about how to learn French for beginners, that speaks about the 4-step process that leads to learning French. And that goes selection, activation, immersion, and practice, safe practice. So immersion is step 3. And so it's one, like those are basically the compulsory steps. If you do not go through those 4 steps, you probably will not learn French, or you will learn it haphazardly. I guess it could be possible to learn it only with immersion and practice. Some people probably do it this way, but that's very random. So if you are after learning French mindfully on purpose, you want to have those 4 steps. So it goes selection, which is where you choose what you want to learn. I've already spoken about that in some other videos. Then there's activation, which is where you actually learn something about what you want to learn. So for example, when you do some grammar exercises, that's activation. When you learn some vocabulary, you write vocabulary in your notebook, or you start practicing vocabulary for the first time with your teacher or coach or language partner, that's activation. And basically, that's like the first contact you have with the words, right? Or with the language, or with a part of the language. And then you have immersion. And immersion is basically where the things that have been activated consciously start becoming subconscious, and you start being able to use them without thinking. So how that works is that when something is activated, your brain has a function which is called the reticular activating system. And that system is constantly scanning the environment for the things that it thinks are important. There is less than 10% of the input around you that you actually process consciously, or the rest is basically being filtered by your reticular activation system. So it's super important to have your activation here, because if you do not activate things, you will not be able to retrieve them during the immersion practice. So I hope that makes sense to you. I could elaborate on that for like ever and ever and ever. There are like many things that I could say about that, but I hope that covers it. Please tell me if you understand. So that was basically the reason why immersion is so important, is that if you do not have it, you just have like a couple of stuff that you kind of know about, but you never get to the point where you can practice it because it's step 3 is missing. So please tell me if that makes sense. If it doesn't, please ask questions. I'm happy to answer questions before I move on to the next step, which is the one situation when you don't want to practice immersion, and then how to immerse yourself with no effort. We have a ton of we only have a few comments here that I haven't read. So Linda's saying dealing with energy blocks and things like that is very helpful. Yeah, you're in the French Accelerator, so you know what that is, right? You've taken the workshop perhaps a couple of times about energy clearing. I really plan on releasing that energy clearing workshop outside of the Accelerator for those of you who would just want to have that workshop and not the entire package. That will be done hopefully later this year. I'm working on it. Connie said, I psychologically block any and all sports reference. That's your reticular activation system was like, nope, not relevant. That's how it works. All right, so if I'm not receiving any question about this point, let's move on to the next one. So the one situation when you don't want to practice immersion, if you're with me on Telegram, if you're not, please click the link in the description of this video to join the channel on Telegram. It's amazing, and it's very useful for the immersion, as we will see later. So if you're in there, if you've listened to the messages that I sent today, I told you that for German, I'm actually not doing immersion, which is quite a feat because I live in a German-speaking country. I live in Austria, in Vienna, and I have been living in German-speaking countries for 10 years, actually coming up close to 11 years now. And honestly, the only way that I can not immerse myself is because of COVID, because I just never go out of my place. So I just don't deal with German. The only time when I deal with German is if I receive something in the mail or if I have to call someone. And I could decide to immerse myself in German, because as you will see, it's possible to do it anywhere. And even if your quarantine is perfectly possible, that would be a terrible excuse to be like, hey, I can't immerse myself, I'm quarantined. It's not because I can't, it's because I willfully choose not to. So basically your brain has just a certain bandwidth, and you can learn anything you want and any amount of information that you want to learn, but not at the same time. And this is super important. This is also important for when you're doing, I actually was doing it this way, when you're doing the 4 steps, you can only activate so much at a time. And you have to be a little bit patient, because there is a bit of a bottleneck here. So you really have to be mindful of how much bandwidth you have. That's also the reason why I recommend putting maximum 10 new words per day in your vocabulary notebook. And honestly, that's like a big maximum. And there's no minimum. Like if on a day you have no new vocabulary, perfect, like keep learning the old ones. That's because you have only so much bandwidth. And you can only learn so many languages at the same time. And it's very helpful to know exactly what you want to learn. And I don't have my worksheet. Please give me a second. So this is the reason why I use this. You can use this worksheet. This one is free. It's part of the French Fluency Starter Kit. I've linked it in the description below. And also I use this roadmap, which is what I use with my one-on-one clients. But one page is basically the same as the fluency worksheet. Just I fill it, of course. And so the reason why we do this is to select what we want to learn, like what is important for you to learn. So you learn first the things that are most relevant. And that is because you only have so much bandwidth. And if you're not being selective about what you learn, then you will be a lot more scattered and you will see a lot less progress. Now, this applies within one language, which is why we're using this kind of thing to define exactly what you want to learn and just leave out all the rest. It doesn't really apply to immersion, but I really wanted to put that here. But it also applies across languages. So if you have learned more than one language, or if you want to learn more than one language besides your native language, you have to make choices at some point. And so for me, you might know that I'm a polyglot. I speak 6 languages, and that's in order of French, English. In order of how well I speak them, it's probably German next, Esperanto, Spanish, and Portuguese. And there just is only so much bandwidth, and it's very challenging to keep 6 languages at the same level. And if you do that, quite frankly, the level is not going to be very high. So it's a matter of choice. You can perfectly maintain 6 languages if you want to. If you want to be conversational in 6 languages or 7 or 8 or however many, you can. But it will be very difficult to push higher than the level of conversation. I'm perfectly conversational in German. If I need to have a conversation in German, if I have a problem or anything is happening, I will be able to speak German without problem. But I am not able to go to a conference about literature and follow the fine details of what would be spoken about, even though that's something that I could be interested in. There are thousands and thousands and thousands of things that I could be interested in, but I made the conscious choice to become extremely expert, to basically have developed my expertise in English and French, because I'm a French learning coach for English speakers. And what really is interesting for me for my work is to become able to serve my clients at the highest possible level and to make the best possible courses for you guys and the best possible videos and lives and everything. So that is a choice that I made for myself. Like, this is my career. These are the 2 languages that are really relevant. German is relevant to me only as far as I live here. I have a level B2, and that's fine. I don't need to make it to C1 or C2 in German. It's just not relevant to me. So that is why I am not practicing German immersion. I could practice it. I definitely know how to do it, obviously, because I'm explaining it to you. But I don't. I only do immersion for English and French. And I do a lot of immersion for English. And the vast majority of the things that I read and the things that I watch on YouTube and the series that I watch and the movies that I watch, the vast majority of them are in English. And you can absolutely consume more cultural products in your target language, in French, for example, than you do in your native language. I do it, it's possible, and it is actually a good idea if you want to become good at a particular language. At this point, I'm not to brag, but I'm so good at English that I think there are a lot of things that I can do in English better than in French. For example, I'm not certain that I could have this live and speak French with you with the same kind of precision and the same kind of fluency as I'm doing it right now, because it's quite taxing in terms of energy, and to be able to have a delivery which is fluid for an entire hour and be making some sense and be interacting with people. I could actually try to do it in French one day. I did give the last class to the French Fluency Accelerator students this Sunday, and we did most of it in French, but also it was a lot of time with them speaking, not just me. So just saying, because the language is your native language, it does not have to be the language that you're most comfortable doing everything in. It's a matter of choice. You could choose to immerse yourself in French so much that your French become as good or even better than your English. So please tell me if that makes sense. We have a whole bunch of comments that I'm going to read through before we move on to the next one, which is how to immerse yourself with no efforts. Super exciting topics. So what do we have here? Linda's saying she has her phone set to French too, so that's something you can do. It just takes, takes 1 second or like a couple of clicks to set it to French, and then it's all in French, and you have immersion for free, as in it takes you no extra time. Connie's saying, I use my phone for work and I can't really change it to French. Right. Yeah. Sometimes some of these stuff will not be convenient for you, and it's okay. Just use other stuff. Like in the French Life Launchpad, which is the same as the first 3 workshops as the French Fluency Accelerator, you have an entire workshop, like the second, no, wait. Yeah, I think it's the second module in the French Life Launchpad. It is an entire workshop, 90 minutes of techniques for immersion and techniques for choosing resources. So there are things that you can use. If one thing doesn't work for you, ditch it. It's okay. It's all about finding what works for you. So Linda's saying you can change it back and forth easily. I changed mine back so that the GPS not speaking French when Dave is driving. Yeah, I mean, it takes a bit more work to switch it back and forth, but it's possible. I try. I just don't want to mess with work crap in French. I do have the French keyboard on my phone though. Good, yeah, then you can type in French. I mean, typing SMS in French if you have French-speaking friends are a great way to practice as well. Not immersion, it actually belongs to the 4th step, right? Practice, but it's a great way. Doge is saying, I think it's way easier to immerse in English than any other language, given that it's kind of the world lingua franca. Yeah, you're kind of right. It is more challenging to find content in other languages than in English. Luckily, I believe, I'm not sure if that's still the case, but it used to be that French was the second most largest language on the internet. It's one of the most important. If you pick a language that's super niche, a very small language, it will be a lot harder to find content. So that's a great point. But you can immerse yourself in French, no problem. There are plenty of people on the internet, French people on the internet who speak no English, and they have everything in French, and it works for them. So it's possible. Connie is saying that's surprising that your native language is not as developed as English. I don't know if we can say it's not as developed. I just would say it's not as fluid, maybe, just because I'm so used to, I even think in English most of the time. And I've actually started reading novels in French again, just so my French doesn't become too bad in the fluidity of it, because I've been speaking French with some friends, a couple of clients, and also a little bit of listening to French online, but I find that reading is also helping me. Linda is saying, my personal trainer was the same way. He rarely got to speak Lebanese, so his English was very developed, but he didn't get to practice his native language much. Yeah, sometimes it actually takes effort to practice your native language. I was practicing a lot more French before COVID, because here we have a rather large French-speaking community, or actually even French community. Just there are probably hundreds, maybe even thousands of people here in Vienna who are from France. And it's really easy to meet people and speak French when meetings are happening. If it's not, then it's a bit more challenging. So it's the kind of things you have to organize. It's not unlike learning a language when you're not in the country of that language, when you think about it. Like, it's a bit of like your own little COVID, where like you're isolated with your French, but it's okay, you can do it. And let's look into how you can do it. So 1 second, I'm just looking at my notes. Yeah, so the goal basically is to do hardly any effort. So you really want to look into what will be things that you can set and forget. So the settings in the phone is good. If you're playing a video game in French, you just set it to French when you download it, and then you forget about it. You just keep playing it. And there are a number of things that you can actually do. So social media is a good example of that. If you put some French in your feed and you keep interacting with it, you will get more. So it's a good idea to follow people on Instagram, for example, French-speaking accounts on Instagram. And it's a great idea to follow some channels on YouTube. That is really the number one tool that I would recommend for learning French would be YouTube, because it's free. You have an endless stream of content. And even though there is a lot more English than French, you still have way more French than you can watch, even if you would be watching 24/7. So YouTube is really a great place. Podcasts also, so you can have on your podcast app on your phone, you can just sign up for French podcasts, and as long as you keep listening to them, it will give you the new, it will feed you the new episodes, and you won't have to think too much about it. It's just when you open your app to listen to something, tap something French instead of tapping something English. So there is a little bit of like a resistance possibility here. So it can take its choice to choose French over English. Sometimes if you're tired, you can be like, oh, I don't want to listen to French. But actually, I would challenge you to, how can I say that? I would challenge you to, even if you're tired, and especially if you're tired, to go like, no, I'm actually going to listen to some French, and you don't have to understand anything. Like, this is the key. The whole point of immersion is not to understand. The point is to have the language around. And as you do that and you keep doing it every day, you will see that you understand more and more and more. And I would actually love if some of you have had this experience, if you could share it in the comment, because when I see it, it sounds, and when I say it myself, it sounds like of course, like it would work for me or something like that, but it works for everybody. So if any of you has had this experience, maybe Linda or Connie, please share it, because you'll see that it works actually for normal people, not just the French guy on YouTube. So yeah, the whole idea is basically to have as little effort as possible. What I love with YouTube is that if you keep watching videos, it will keep giving you not only the videos of that channel, but also similar videos. So I absolutely recommend finding the stuff that you like on YouTube and watching them. And there's really only one, well, I mean, two criteria, let's say. There's really only two criteria, but really one criterion for something that will be good for your daily French bath. So one, it has to be in French. I'm not just going to put it here, just because it's a criterion. But this criterion, the second one, is most important. It is super duper important that you love it. It has to be the kind of thing that you would almost get like a guilty pleasure from. If you kind of like it, but kind of not. Like, YouTube is really good at finding the stuff that you really want to watch. And even if you don't know that you want to watch it, like, I would not claim that I want to watch kitten videos, but I do, and YouTube knows that. So yeah, like, it has to be the stuff that you really, really like to watch. So I hope that makes sense. Then I will give you a couple of strategies to find them, and just, so you concretely find them, and you can start putting them on your homepage on YouTube and start to make the algorithm work for you. So Then it's saying, all right, I follow some French Instagrammers too. So yeah, if you're using Instagram, I don't use Instagram much. It's not my favorite app, but I use TikTok, for example, and it works just the same way. Doge is saying, I watched Le Rire Jaune, but now he switched to English. Yeah, I think he's exhausted the potential of his French pool, and he just wants to grow farther. There are, however, plenty of funny French, not Instagrammers, YouTubers that you can follow. You can follow Norman, for example. Let me type their names. Norman and Cyprien, they're the biggest one. Among women, you have Natu, she's pretty funny. Andy from, I think it's called Andy Raconte, her channel. Those are the biggest ones that I can think of. Who else is pretty funny? I like Poisson Fécond. He's not really funny in the same way. A lot of what he says is actually educational, but he's got a bit of like a sassy tone to what he does. Yeah, I'll think of some more and I'll share them. There are plenty. And also, if you follow them, YouTube will recommend other channels, because the watchers of those channels which you follow will watch similar things. So you will actually get more as you follow them. That's just really important it's how you train YouTube to be like, oh, okay, not only you understand French, but you like this French content and this French content and this French content. Because then that's how YouTube will find out, okay, like, this person likes this channel and this channel and this channel. other people who like those channels probably like this one, so I will suggest this one. So that's how you really just have to train YouTube. It takes a lot of effort at the beginning. There's a bit of a resistance in the YouTube algorithm, but once you have it trained, it's very convenient, and it just keeps giving and giving and giving, which is really cool. So Connie is sharing her experience. Oh, wait, no, first, Linda is saying she wants to find some meditation track in French on YouTube. I'm sure I have some of that stuff somewhere. Let me find it in a moment. That is actually my last point, is when I share, when I find some for you. I actually just quoted those on top of my head, but I will find stuff for you later in this live. Connie is sharing her experiences at work. You don't even realize it is happening until you start understanding a few words. Then more and more words are added to your vocabulary. Yes, that is what you want to have. That's exactly how it works. Thank you, Connie, for the testimonial. I really, yeah, that's what I'm shooting at. This happens. It just does happen. You just have to keep at it. Oh, Linda, the other Linda is here. Hi. Nota Bene is interesting, history topics, but modern and interesting. Yes, I love Nota Bene. I watched almost everything he does. He's been making longer videos lately, so sometimes I have a hard time watching everything. I can just take some time to finish it, but he's really, really good. Another channel that's similar that you can watch is called L'Histoire nous le dira. And it's actually a guy from Canada, a Canadian French speaker. L'Histoire nous le dira. That's pretty good too. So you can watch this. And also YouTube has a bit of a problem where they think that French from France and French from Canada is not the same language. I have a bone to pick with the geeks who have programmed YouTube, because they really think that every variant of a language is a different language. So for example, they would treat English from the UK and English from the US to be different, and English from Canada to be different. And it's annoying. Like, as an English learner, I mean, advanced learner, but still, like, you can always learn more. I would want to hear more different accents. And if you're learning French, starting from the B2 level, it is considered that you need to become able to, or you need to be able to understand different accents. But YouTube does not help you with that. So I recommend also following channels that are not from France, but from other countries, such as, for example, Canada, because that will help you have different accents. And especially if you are learning French to live in Canada or to work with Canadian people or with anything related to Canada, you would actually want to follow specifically Canadian channels, because then you will have Canadian French. It's not very different, but it is slightly different, and the difference can be useful to you if you are learning specifically for Canada. Same thing if you're learning specifically for another country. If you're learning for Africa, the issue with that is that there just isn't a lot of content from Africa. I do have a bit of a content bank, a resource bank somewhere with a list of African sources. Often you find them off YouTube. But unless you're learning for Africa, which is a specific category, you will find a lot on YouTube. Doge is saying it also recommend Science Étonnante. Yes, there's an E, but I mean, Science Étonnante. This is also a great channel. I love it so much. Another one that I love, which is a bit of a sassy vibe, which is about science, is called Dirty Biology. Now, the title is in English, the name of it is in English, but it's in French. Absolutely. Léo Grasset is a French guy. Everything he does is in French. He just called his channel an English title. So those are really the two that I love for science and biology. I'm sure there are others, but that's what I have top of my head right now. So I totally recommend those. Yeah, so let's move on to concrete tips to find the, wait, is that where I'm at? Yes. Concrete tips to find those channels and those things. So the first tip that I have to give you, which I know I've said it several times, but I keep saying it, follow me on Telegram, okay? If you don't have the Telegram app, it's free. You can download it. It doesn't cost anything. It's just one more app. Yeah, I know. But for starters, you can also follow French channels on Telegram. That's also a nice way to have your French immersion. I really love that Telegram is allowing you a more quiet experience than YouTube. I just like having a Telegram channel and listening to everything that the person has said or reading everything that they have sent. You can find Antoine BM, for example, and Victor Ferry. Those are two French guys who have their Telegram channel, and they're very active. So yeah, those are stuff that I have shared on my own Telegram channel. So if you're not there, you will want to join. The link is in the description of this video, and else you can just open Telegram and use the search function and look for French Fluency or Angel Preto, my name. You'll find us. You'll find me with both keywords. But the beauty of Telegram is that whenever I listen to something or watch something that I like, I actually shared also some podcasts. This is not Telegram. Excuse me for a second. I just want to show you my channel. Yes, so it looks like this. And whenever I share, there is also a tutorial, by the way, on this channel to explain how Telegram works if it's new to you. But basically, when I find something new that I like, this was in English, this was an exception, I actually share it. So, okay, that's me sharing the link to this live. You get also links to this live. So for example, last week I watched this. It's a documentary from Arte, which is about the making of ignorance. It was pretty cool. It was an hour and a half of French BAP, and it was super interesting. So I shared it there. And then I've been sharing, these are recipes that I practiced, that I did for myself. And I actually have a hard time seeing from the phone. Excuse me. Yeah, so for example, this is also a French BAP that I shared. It's from a channel called Et tout le monde s'en fout, and it's in French. It's about cinema, and so on and so forth. So this is a good resource where you can just go there, and whenever I find something that I find interesting, I will share it. The things that I share are like 99% of what I share is in French, and if it's not in French, it's about French. 99% of the content that's not from me is in French. But I speak English myself and write in English so that you can understand it. So I will always give you the link and share some content, some context so that you know what it's about. And of course, if you love or if you like the kind of content that I share, you want to follow those channels, to subscribe to those channels or follow those podcasts, sometimes are podcasts, and so that you keep getting more of those. So it is a good way to create your library little by little. The second thing is, if you're working with me one-on-one, use your roadmap. Now, of course, that's a bit of a, I hope that if you're working with me one-on-one, you know to do that, but I wanted to share that. The third page of your roadmap, and that also corresponds to the second workshop in the French Accelerator and also in the French Life Launchpad, is your resources. Now, if I have made your roadmap myself, I have handpicked those resources for you, and every single link is either a YouTube channel or a list of podcasts or books that have been handpicked for you. So use it, right? If you want to work one-on-one with me, you actually can't do it right now because I'm booked out, so I need to throw that out there. But as soon as I have some free spots, available spots, I will share them first in the French Fluency Accelerator. So if you really want to work one-on-one with me as soon as possible, please join the French Fluency Accelerator. First, it will give you a good head start because you have all of the courses and all of the workshops that I've ever created, and you'll have access to me in a Facebook group every single day. And then you'll have the first dibs to the spots when they become available. And then after, if there's any spot left, I will share them on Telegram, and then I will share them here and on email. So that was one thing. And while I'm speaking about the French Fluency Accelerator, a good way to get some resources that you would want is to just post in the Facebook group and be like, hey, I'm looking for resources that are about this or that. And do you have some? Because either the other students will have some and they will share it, or I will find your post and I will personally research those resources so that you can have them. So that will be an even faster way to get resources handpicked by me than working one-on-one with me. It's just being in the French Fluency Accelerator and using the French Fluency Accelerator private Facebook group, which is, you know, a closed group like this just for the students, and then posting in those groups, asking people if they have resources or asking me to share or like to research resources. And I'm happy to do it. I mean, by French Fluency Accelerator, students are very dear to me. So if you have any question or anything that I can help you with, I will jump in and I will answer your questions. Sometimes I post very, very long answers. And yeah, everybody is always saying that it's super helpful. So I do plan on doing that some more. Right. So we have a question. Is the difference in French Canadian mainly the slang or is it pronunciation? It's a bit of both. So they tend to have different vocabulary. What's interesting is that the Anglicism, the English words that they use, are different than the one that we use. So for example, in French, we would say shopping, within the French sentence. It's a word we use, but in Canada they would say magasinage. On the other hand, they have a whole bunch of English words that they have borrowed, which we don't know. So that's one thing. They have a different slang as well. They tend to have a bit more religious slang than we do in France. In France, we're just kind of like weeding out everything religious of the language. And then there's the pronunciation. Some Canadian people have a strong accent, some have a light accent, and some have no accent at all, or like no accent that I can hear at least. So it's a bit of both, but mostly, like if you follow, for example, L'Histoire nous le dira, which is the channel of Laurent Turcot, who's I think he's an history professor in a Canadian university, you can hear his accent, or at least I can hear his accent, but it's very mild and it's no problem at all to understand him. So I think most of the Canadian content that you can find will not be difficult to understand. Linda is saying also we have fun in the accelerator. It's a nice group of people. This is true. Like I was so happy to be with you on the live class last Sunday. It's always so fun to just exchange with you. Well, it's in French or in English. It's super nice. So yes, use the group of the French Fluency Accelerator to ask your questions and to share your resources. Also, if you find something nice, share it with your friends in the French Fluency Accelerator. It's useful. You can also use the French Fluency Together group, which is a free Facebook group. It's not very active now because I left it. I mean, I'm still in the group and I will still show up from time to time, but originally it was the place where those lives were held and it didn't work out just as well as YouTube. So I decided to migrate to here. The group is not very useful now, but you can still use it if you don't want to join the French Accelerator for any reason. You can use that group as well. I just will not be as reactive in that group as I am in the French Accelerator, just because, yeah, can't be everywhere, right? So yeah, follow me on Telegram, use your roadmap, use the French Accelerator group, train the algorithms. I don't want to elaborate on that because I've already elaborated quite a bit on how to train the algorithm. But if you have some questions about that, please ask them. I'm happy to answer any question. And then the last tip that I have, which is what I use to find resources for my clients, is to use Google. But the trick is you have to type the query in French. So I would love to actually help you formulate some queries in French right now so you know what to type and you know how to find your resources. And then maybe I can also do it for you, although I cannot share my screen, which is a little bit annoying. So Aditya is here. Hi, Aditya. Welcome. We're just about to speak about researching your own resources. And I was saying that you want to formulate the query in French. So how you want to formulate the query in French is by typing chaîne YouTube in Google, right? Chaîne YouTube plus the name, the topic in French, right? So for example, if you like, say, knitting, you want to type chaîne YouTube Eco, right? And if you type it in French, and you also want to make sure that your Google is not translating everything. So you have to go to tools on Google and allow the French language, or you can even set it just to French. So you have only French results. So chaîne YouTube plus the name of the topic. And if you're looking for podcasts, that would be podcast plus the topic in French. So please give me some ideas of topics that you like. What are your, just share with me what are your hobbies, what is the kind of things that you want to find out or that you would like to have your daily French bath about. Remember that the one criteria really, I mean, in French, right, is one criteria. It has to be in French and you have to love it. So these have to be the topics that you are interested in yourself. So please tell me what you're interested in and I will phrase it for you. And if I know some channels or if I can rapidly find some channels about this topic, I will also throw them in. So just let me know and I will help you have your resources right now. What is this? Oh, I cannot share my screen. Yeah. So while you're typing your things, I will find some. I will just open my list of resources. So yes, I have it here. Okay. So we have a question. Is there a translation online for the progressive grammar exercise book? I'm too lazy to translate it page by page. Oh, you mean this book? Because no, I don't think there is a translation, and I don't think there should. I'm not really sure why you want a translation. Like, it's supposed to be, I mean, I guess maybe it's difficult for you to understand these pages, for example, but they're supposed to be made to be easy to understand. So that's why you have, like, the pictures and everything. It's true that it's easier to use if you have a teacher or someone to help you. Maybe you could find a language partner or find a tutor on italki that can help you go through it. Because, yeah, I don't think that's a translation, and I don't think it's meant to be translated at all. I hope that answers your question. Meditation in French. Yes, so meditation is tricky because you want to type it with an accent first. That will be easier. And so you could type chaîne YouTube méditation, and then you will be able to find some. But let me also look up, because I have my resource bank here open, and I can actually find some for you. So I have 5 or 6 channels here. I'm just going to paste that here. I hope it works. Right. So these are the list of when I have a one-on-one client who wants to find or wants meditation and similar topics, I share those topics with them. So affirmation positive, Mike Méditation, Pascal Picavet, psychothérapie holistique, Bulle de sérénité, and Cédric Michel. So please look for those in YouTube. They have meditation tracks in French, and then you can use it you can use them for yourself. Food, culture, comedy shows, these are my interests. So I suggest for comedy shows, please go back up. I have shared a whole bunch. At some point, there's like a list of comments by me where I say Norman, Cyprien, Natou, Andy, Poisson Fécond, all of those are comedy channels. There's also Le Rire Jaune, which is a comedy channel. So you want to go up in the comments and see how that's written. Another channel for comedy, which I love, is Topito. They're making videos, I think, every day nowadays. So Topito is a really good one. And then food, culture. Yeah. So for culture, you want to specify, because is it art? Is it literature? Is it like knowing about different cultures? That would help. And for food, by food, do you mean cooking, or do you mean more like being a foodie? Because I actually don't know if I have some about food, but I do have a lot about cooking. Obviously, French are really good at cooking, so they have a ton of channel. Let me see, what do I have for cooking? So these are the cooking channels that I know. And so you can look up for those channels. Yeah, so what is the algorithm? Okay, so when we say the algorithm, we mean the system that makes YouTube work, or the system that makes TikTok work, or Instagram. So it's a technical term, right? You don't need to know what exactly is an algorithm, because it's a math term, and I actually don't really know what is an algorithm in terms of math, but we use this word to refer to the mechanism that makes YouTube work. So when you're on YouTube, you go to your homepage, and then you have some videos that are suggested to you. The thing that chooses those videos for you is called the algorithm. And same thing on Instagram. Like, there is a system that chooses what you see on top, and that is the algorithm. So that's why we say you have to train it. You have to tell it, okay, I love this. I don't like that. I mean, well, you can't really tell it that you don't like stuff. Like, if you leave a mean comment under a video, the algorithm will believe that you love it and you get some more. But the algorithm only really care about what you're watching. So if you're for example, if you're watching this live for like 10, 20 minutes, you're staying on with me, there is a solid chance that next Monday you will get another suggestion of my live video, or maybe tomorrow you will get some of my video suggested, just because you stayed on live to listen to me. And the algorithm is thinking, oh, Aditya just likes this Angel Preto guy, I'm just going to show them some more. So that's what the algorithm is, and that's what it does. And that's why we are saying you have to train the algorithm to just let it know that you like French content, or content that is in French. So then it will know that you understand French, and it will know the kind of content that you like. So I hope that makes sense. Connie saying, exactly, I'm struggling with that part. If I can't read the questions, I can't do the exercise. Yeah, that makes sense. So Linda can help you. And yeah, I think Linda knows the Orange Book by heart. So yep, I think you're in good hands here. There is a French meditation of the 6-phase meditation from Mindvalley. Actually, I was wondering about that. I'm glad that you're sharing it, Linda. I was thinking that, oh, if it doesn't exist, it should be translated. Cool. So Mindvalley, I mean, I know that Mindvalley is actually making channels in different languages. I'm routinely getting ads by Mindvalley, which are dubbed in French. I do find it a bit disturbing, but maybe it could be interesting for you. So there's got to be a channel for Mindvalley French. I'm actually gonna look that up. Give me a second. I'm just gonna look on YouTube if there is a Mindvalley France or something channel. It's funny. My YouTube is suggesting my own live to me, which I'm on right now. Mindvalley France, Mindvalley Français, maybe. Oh yeah, there is. Améliorer votre vie avec un contenu original dès nos meilleurs maîtres. Okay, they don't even have correct grammar on their banner. I don't mean to criticize, but that's not great. It should be de nos meilleurs maîtres, so please don't take them for granted or anything. But this is Mindvalley in French, so you can check it out. I will listen to them and see if it's tolerable, because sometimes it's just dubbed in a really, really bad way. Okay, so knowing about the French culture, and you are a foodie guy. Okay, I actually need to think about how to find foodie content in French. I know that there is a French TV program that's called Top Chef, which is very famous, and they do all sorts of like super fancy food. So maybe you like that. Knowing about the French culture, who would be speaking about the French culture? I actually need to think about that. I don't think I can grab it in those 9 minutes, but I'll think about it and see how I can find that. Oh, for French culture, you want to watch on Arte the series that's called Carambolage. Actually, something I've shared also on Telegram. Carambolage, it's actually made for foreigners, so it is typically rather very well articulated. They really just care to pronounce well, and it tends to be a bit slow as well. So yeah, Arte is actually a TV channel which is half French, half German. It's like a co-production. So a lot of it has German subtitles, for example, or some like words written in German. But don't be put off. You can always have a version of that's entirely in French. I like them a lot, so I'm often sharing them on Telegram as well. Yeah, so I'm gonna think about the foodie aspect, and when I find something, I'll share it on Telegram. Right, so we're almost there. It's 52 minutes already. Thank you for being here with me and for sticking around. I'm happy to answer any question or to find any content that you would like me to find. So please don't be shy and tell me in the comment section what I can help you with. Welcome, Aditya. I hope that helps. Oh yes, food story is a good one. I wasn't even thinking of food story. Yep, all about how different food and how it's made, for example. So Aditya, yes, you want to check out food story. The name is in French, but the name is in English, but it's a French channel. All right, so we got a few minutes left. Please ask me anything. If there's anything about French that I can help you with, or if you want to know anything about me or how I work or how I would deal with any particular problem, please just ask. The comment section is here for you. I'm happy to stick around for 1 hour. As usual, it's always a pleasure to be live with you. I wonder how many comments we've had this time. I wonder if we're going to get to 100 or not. That's always like, there's no way of knowing as we go how far we are. So I'm only finding the number afterwards. Right. I've spoken so much, I can't speak anymore. Right. Yeah, Food Story is a really good channel. I've been watching it too. I don't know why I wasn't thinking of it, but thank you, Linda, for being here and knowing that. I'm surprised Connie hasn't been counting comments. Why is Connie an accountant or a profession that's just likes to count? Yeah, there are a lot. Like, I mean, if I scroll down and back up, there are a lot of comments. We'll see. I'll share the number on Telegram when it shows up. Right. Does anyone have any question for me? If you don't, I'm gonna run. I'm just gonna check my notes to see if I've shared everything. Yeah, I have shared everything, so that's cool. Please follow me on Telegram. That will really help because whenever I find something cool, I share it there. I do share in the French Fluency Accelerator Facebook group as well, but not as much as on Telegram, just because it's a lot easier. I mean, I love Telegram. I love how easy it is to just open the phone or actually I have it on my desktop as well. You can have it on your desktop, but you need to set it up on your phone. If you don't know how it works, please check out the tutorial. I made a tutorial which is on this channel, and I made it because I understand that it's not so easy to get into a new app, and Telegram just works in a bit of a different way. The Telegram channels are just one-way channels, but they're really quiet. It's not like YouTube, which is a very noisy world, or Facebook or Instagram. So yeah, like if you're not in there, you want to get in there. There's just a lot of really good stuff, and goes without saying, or no, it goes better if I say it. It's free. Also, the app is free. My channel is free, and you can follow. These are the two French guys that I follow on Telegram. I follow another couple, but they're just not very active. But Antoine BM and Victor Ferry, they share a lot. Antoine BM, by the way, has been. I wanted to share his new vlog. He's been making a vlog He's also on YouTube with the same name. Actually, both of them are also on YouTube with the same name. He's been making a weekly vlog, which is like 45 minutes every week. And he's in Paris right now. He's a really big traveler. So he's sometimes in other places, but right now he's in Paris. That's where he lives officially. That's where his business is, even though it's an online business. So you might want to watch his vlogs. If you're missing traveling to France and you're missing Paris, it's a good opportunity to see the city of Paris. And he's also speaking in French and giving advice for business and online business, which if it's a topic that you're interested in, then I completely recommend following Antoine BM. And Victor Ferry is originally a rhetoric professor. He used to be a rhetoric professor in university. Now I think he works only online, but he has a really, really good channel. And sometimes he speaks a lot about French celebrities, particularly political figures, and sometimes rappers and just famous people in France and how they communicate. So if you want to learn more about French culture and also about communication, Victor Ferry is a good channel to follow as well. All right, so Aditya is saying, thank you, Angela, have a nice day. Have a nice day as well. I'm so glad that you were here. It was nice of you to show up. Linda's really missing traveling to France. Connie, we have a new dog to meet there now. Oh yes, I hear your friend Liam has a new dog. Yep. Where do I work in France? I do not work in France. Oh yeah, you weren't here at the beginning. I actually live in Vienna, Austria, which is a German-speaking country. I haven't been living in France for 11 years, but I'm from Dijon, which is the city of the mustard. If you ever heard of Dijon mustard, that's where I'm from. I lived there until I was 25, and then I left. And I lived in Austria, then German. I lived in a small village in Austria, and then I lived in Vienna for 4 years, 4.5 years. Then I lived in Berlin for 4 years as well, and then I came back to Vienna because it's my favorite city, and I just really don't want to live anywhere other than here. I'm really glad that I got to move back before COVID hits, and that I'm quarantined. It's not as nice as if I wasn't, but I mean, quarantined. We're more like under lockdown. It's like our fourth lockdown. It's very annoying, but I'm a lot less annoyed than if I was still in Berlin. So I'm really glad that I'm here. I hope that answers your question. But yeah, no, I do not work in France. But I do have a plan. It's more like a dream or a goal for in the coming years. I would love to run some French retreats. So to offer my students to come with me to a retreat in France, somewhere in France. I mean, we could do it in all sorts of different regions, and to practice French and practice immersion right on the spot. That would be super cool. So I'd really love to do that. All right. Is there any other question? We do have another minute and a half. I mean, it's already 8 p.m., but I was late, so I'm gonna give you a couple more minutes if you have some questions. Connie is saying she would love to go on a French retreat. Well, I'd be sure to let you know when that exists. With COVID, it's really complicated, so I'm definitely not organizing that until it's completely over. And also, it's a bit of a complicated thing to organize. Like right now, my business is not really solid enough that I can have this component, but it's also growing and becoming better, stronger, really fast. So who knows? Maybe I can do it next year or in 2 years. depending on COVID and depending on how things go. But yeah, I would love to be on a retreat with like the two of you, and maybe it would be a very small thing, like 10 people max, or maybe 8 people max. We'll see what we can do. I'm looking into it, and I'll definitely do my best to do it, but it's going to take a while because if we're having a pandemic, then like it's pretty pointless. Please let me know. I'm moving to Lille for studies. Oh, nice. So I hope you're already speaking some French, because I mean I don't actually know how much they speak French in Lille, but typically the cities outside of Paris speak less English. Yeah, but Lille is a nice city, I hear. It's a bit cold because it's in the north, but yeah. What are you studying? Just tell me what you're studying. What's to stop you from learning just too many rude words, i.e. not safe for work words? Supply chain. Supply chain is what you're studying. Oh, that sounds like a really interesting topic. Wannabe actuary, I am not exactly sure of what's your question. Like, do you want to be stopped from learning rude words, or do you not want to be stopped? Or are you afraid that you will learn rude words without knowing? Because if you're afraid that you would learn rude words without knowing, I have to say it is indeed something that could happen. I have been learning rude words in English without knowing, and I only found out when I was using this word in my oral exam. So yeah, that could happen. When you learn new words, it could be a good idea to look them up in the dictionary to find out what they really mean. And typically, if it's rude, it will say grossier or something like that in the dictionary. So that would be a good way to find out. Like, I was just not cautious enough when I was younger, but now I don't think I'm using rude words without meaning to, or without at least being in a situation where it's okay to use them. More afraid of learning rude words without knowing. Yeah, you can always look up the word in the dictionary. That will be the easiest way to double check that they're not rude, because the dictionary will tell you grossier is typically, it will say grossier or vulgaire, and sometimes it might be abbreviated. So for example, if you see something like vulg with a dot, that would mean that it's a rude word. So yep, use the dictionary. In some of the F1 interviews, some are effing and blinding without realizing. I do think that there's more of that in English than in French. Like, most of the time when I listen to French interviews, they're just not as rude, not as like, adult language. I am actually a lot ruder in English than I am in French. Like, I'm trying to not drop too many F-bombs even around those lives. And like, I'm kind of editing myself out. But if I'm speaking to friends, I will be a lot ruder than I am here, just because I think it's more, maybe not more appropriate, definitely not, but more common for people on interviews and even in professional settings to be using really rude words in English. In French, if you're in a professional setting, it's rare for people to use rude words. But still, I mean, the dictionary can help you double check. Okay, so I missed a couple of comments here. Linda's saying, my friends' children and grandchildren live in Lille, so it's a nice place. I hope you like being there. Yes. Linda is saying, meetup for anyone coming to Paris when travel is allowed, let me know. Yes, I think when I make the first retweet, I can't speak anymore. French retreat, well, meeting, it might be in Paris, because I haven't been in Paris in a long time, and I think it's an easy place to start. It's easy to land there at an airport. But if I try to do it in a small village, it's going to be a bit more complicated. So, yep, Paris would be a good place. And yeah, do you actually live in Paris, Linda, right now? Because if I'm going, I could also try to just have coffee with you someday. It's not going to happen anytime soon because COVID, but that would be good to know. Okay, so second of. Oh, so you think that it's like non-native speakers who actually speak English in a rude manner because it is what they hear at work, especially under stress? That's actually a good idea. Maybe the reason why I became so rude in English is because I was working in the startup and everybody was stressed out all the time. Yeah, that's possible. I never thought of that. Thank you. That's good input. All right, guys, it's been an hour and 4 minutes, so I'm gonna hop off. It's time for me to have some dinner because it's over 8 p.m. here. But it was a pleasure to be with you as usual. Thank you so much for having been here. I will see you next Monday. We will stick to this time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific in the US for the next 6 months. And then after 6 months, the daylight saving time, the clock change, clock adjustment, chaos will start over. But I will keep you informed. And yeah, thank you for having found your way to this live and for being here. It's amazing to be with you every week. And I will see you next week. Maybe we'll speak about psychological blocks, or maybe we'll speak about something else, depending on what I come up with. So I'll think about it. I'll speak about it on Telegram. Maybe we'll have a little poll. If you're not on Telegram still, join us, please. Please join us on Telegram. And you also have the link to join the French Accelerator in the description if you want to check it out. And if you haven't downloaded your French Fluency Starter Kit, do it. Download your French Fluency Starter Kit. It's free and it's really, really helpful. All right, guys, I'm off. Have a wonderful week. I will see you next Monday. Bye.